Howdy Meeps, welcome to the Meeple Syrup Show.
Hello, everybody. You know what? Jesse, I'm going to ask you to sing the Meeple Syrup song because I don't think enough people remember it.
I was not prepared for this.
I just.
No, I'm not gonna do this. I'm the least musically talented person on the show right now.
Oh, that's hard to believe with only two of us. So anyway,
Says the DJ.
Today we're doing a deep dive into drafting. Drafting is one of my favorite things to do, and I don't even know why. I don't know if you were around, Jesse, like in the know of like the draft anything days, where Nate and JR and a couple other people would just pick a topic and then draft teams from that topic.
I heard about this. I wasn't in the know when it was a popular thing to do.
Oh yeah. Well, we're doing it again. We're doing it on Sunday because of the new Game of Thrones season coming up. We're drafting deaths in Game of Thrones.
Axe.
Yes, it should be good. Hey, David Tomei here. Wind drafting? No, just drafting cards and things and whatnot. So yeah. Anyways, I like drafting stuff. I like drafting kind of anything.
Right.
And the beauty of draft anything was really just that you would then justify your drafts, and that was the fun part of it. It's like, why did you draft, Black Panther instead of Iron Man? Iron Man's ostensibly better than Black Panther. It's like, well, no, wait a minute. So you just waited. Yeah.
Because Black Panther is actually capable without a suit, and so.
Oh, shots fired! Tony Stark is like a super high level futurist, right? So if you read the Illuminati series for Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Mr. Fantastic and Namor, he's like up there in terms of planning the fate of the Earth and things like that. It's interesting. Anyway, so cool. We're going to be talking about drafting, lots of other stuff.
So David Tomei has asked the question that I think we should have started with, and now that
we haven't not started.
That's right. So let's start by talking about what is drafting. It is not just a gentle breeze when you leave the door open a little bit, but it's a mechanic, but it's kind of a big mechanical space. So speaking like super abstractly, I think that you could define drafting as any situation in which players take turns picking from some things to have things.
Picking from things to have things.
Yes.
I would go a little further and maybe have the definition include that it's from a subset of things often. Yes. It's usually not from the whole of the things, all of the things.
Right. So players take turns picking a thing from a selected set of things.
Yes. Does that sound good, David? Hey, by the way, because Erica's not here tonight, her internet is acting up. I don't know why. Thanks, Belle. If anybody out there in Meeple Syrup Land wants to come on the show just to have their say about drafting specifically tonight, let us know and hit me up on Facebook if you're there, and I'll give you the link to come into the feed. Actually, let's just see if I can post it here. Can I do this? Is this allowed? Because in YouTube, we used to not be able to post links. So let's see. Uh-oh. This could be bad. Like everybody could have the world.
I feel like it's a bad idea to put the link in a public space.
Well, it's only people who view us that will see it, right? And after the show's done, the link's not live, so I don't really give a care. Haha, there it is. So if you see that link in the comments below, and if you want to come in and talk about drafting, let us know by popping in. And so we have a lobby that you won't be seen immediately. We can allow you in and kick you out and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. No, David, you're not the only one there. There's other people. Zach's here, and Andrew Wolf is here, and I think Jason Mohan is here, and yeah. So there's a couple of viewers. Actually, there's 12 viewers right now, which is great. Yeah. which is good stuff for just starting and absolutely talking about nothing yet.
That's right.
Except the definition.
So,
a really bad definition.
Bland definition. Drafting is when players take turns picking a thing from a specific limited set of things.
Okay, Jesse. So that's what drafting is to you, and it is that to me as well in the basic level of things. What are examples of games that use drafting?
Sushi Go, Seven Wonders.
Sushi Go and Seven Wonders. Those are the two we wrote. What other ones? There's more than just Sushi Go and Seven Wonders, dude.
Yeah. Magic Cube.
Magic Cube, yeah.
And
which, for those of you who don't play Magic the Gathering, is just Magic the Gathering, but within a subset called a cube.
Yeah, it's just a draft. Yeah, you draft cards and then build your deck.
Yeah, a cube is a preset amount of a subset of cards from which you can draft. That's all that really is.
Millennium Blades Pocket Pro Tour is a drafting game.
Yes, it is.
That nobody but us has heard of. There's lots of games with drafting elements. So I've heard people describe parts of Ticket to Ride as drafting.
Yeah. I've seen people say King Domino is a draft. It is?
Yep. I think King Domino is a draft.
Is Patchwork a draft?
Yes, I think Patchwork is a draft.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting because they like tie the draft. So Patchwork is just a very long draft. So, yeah, but it's definitely a draft. Like we're taking turns picking things, and that's the primary action that we're doing. So David's asked us a question: is it only picking, or can you push draft? Meaning something from the subset is pushed to a player versus selected by a player. David, we call that hate drafting.
Yes, or spite drafting.
Or spite drafting.
If hate is too powerful of a word for you.
Yeah.
So yes and no. So that could be that, but there's other people. Well, I would also use that term to say when I pick something from the subset that I know you want, that I don't think it's going to necessarily benefit me, but it's also not going to harm me. But I know it'll be awesome in your hand because I know what you took before.
Yeah. So conceptually, David, absolutely, you could design a game with a push draft. If anyone in the comments can give an example of a game where you pick something where you draft, but you're giving the thing you pick to somebody else, I would love to see it because I know that we've experimented with this idea several times over the last 8 years. And the games that we've at least come up with using this kind of spiteful mode of drafting, the pick and give, don't end up feeling very good.
Well, I mean, so I would consider I Cut You Choose as a type of draft.
Yeah, but it's not pushing like the way that David's describing it, right?
Well, it does by you not taking that other one. It automatically gives the other thing to somebody else.
Yes, it does. But that first part, the I cut phase of it, means that even the player that's going to be on the default receiving end of the other half of the pick still has some agency in what's happening to them.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You get to pick the two things of which you're going to get the one that the other player thinks is the worst.
Yeah, which is a really interesting thing in my book. Where you're picking ostensibly the worst thing to give to a person. Yeah, that's. I don't even know if that would be. There's got to be a game out there that does that.
Yeah, no, that's why I want someone in the comments to tell me what it is because I want to see it done well.
Oh, Jim Baker's saying Gloom. Huh. I have to think about that.
It's been a very long time since I've played Gloom. I'm not sure, Jim.
Me too.
Do players pick things from a set of things? Yeah, and we've also got Sagrada, yes. Patchwork again. Steampunk Racer, I'm not sure what.
Steampunk Rally, probably.
Steampunk Rally, definitely. So that's a game that uses drafting as part of an overall system. You have a draft phase, which is how you get some cards to work with, and then another racing phase where you work with the things that you picked, and sort of the game split in two parts.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Zach has a good question here. Do you think drafting causes a barrier of entry? I feel that in drafting, a player needs to be able to evaluate an item's projected value. And I would agree. We had just talked about this offline before we started the show, that there's definitely a barrier to entry with some drafting games where it's like, I don't know what to pick because you don't know the system and how that card is going to interact with every other card that you possibly can get. This is definitely a problem in some of the more complex games, even in Seven Wonders, which isn't that complex really when you think about it. But understanding how those systems score, I think, is the hard part.
And also appreciating how your decisions in the first age are actually setting you up for opportunities in the third age, because you get the free build chains off of cards, so you can ignore resources. And if you understand the card system in Seven Wonders, you can do that draft way better than someone who's doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
It might be interesting though to talk a little bit about a couple of games that try to overcome that in different ways.
Yeah, let's do that.
So the one that I had brought up when we were offline was actually Magic: The Gathering. When they did their sort of new,
which some of you might say is like, whoa, that doesn't do it. But
check this out.
If you come from really early Magic and then look at modern Magic, you'll see.
Well, yeah. So the thing that's really important. So I actually think that Magic now is super easy to draft. Like you can have your first. If someone teaches you the rules of the game, like a 10-minute intro, this is how you cast spells, and this is how you play cards, and this is how you win. Draft. You will come out with a competent selection of cards to build a deck within. And the reason for that is because Magic cards are designed in a very particular, like on a complexity curve. And so on one hand, common cards have a complexity ceiling. So 10 of the 15 cards you're looking at when you open up a pack are going to be understandable to a novice player. And the other thing is that within the set of commons, there is a subset that are just objectively bad cards. And I don't know if this is still true, but it was at least true like 8 to 10 years ago when they like overhauled to try and make Magic more accessible. So they were intentionally printing terrible cards. Why would you do this? The reason you would do this is so that people can do exactly what Zach was talking about, which is evaluate the cards they're looking at when they don't understand the bigger system. Because you look at these 15 cards and you see one of them and you realize it's strictly worse than another one of them. And you now have a floor for getting cards against. You look at something new and you're like, oh, is it better than that Minotaur that was 5 mana for a 4/4? And so on.
Yeah. So Dave told me it's already disagreeing with you. But I think then he's retracted and said, oops. So maybe you said something that caught him. So he said, I disagree if you're talking experience versus novice gamers when talking Magic. And we think that as well. Obviously, an experienced gamer is always going to outdraft a novice gamer.
Yeah, I'm not talking about even skill. I'm not talking about leveling the playing field. I'm talking about lowering the ceiling, making it easier to climb in.
Yeah. So that somebody who drafts, a newbie who drafts in modern Magic, I think is going to have a better chance than, ages ago, like 15, 20 years ago, because the cards were a little less easy to evaluate.
Yeah.
1 second. There's a couple good quotes down here.
Yeah.
Not about Magic, but yeah.
Oh, that's fine. We can talk about different things then.
Yeah. Well, Vince Londini, a good friend of ours who playtests our game a lot, says Citadels has a low barrier to entry because evaluating the roles is very straightforward. That's a great example.
And Citadels also does use drafting because that's the role selection at the beginning of every round is a draft.
And that's a perfect example of a pretty simple draft because Bruno made the cards really easy to grok. They're really simple. You know what they do. And the system in Citadels isn't so complex that, you would misunderstand how they work after even a couple hands of the draft. Like if you're brand new to Citadels, you might mess up the first draft, but the second draft and the third draft, it just gets easier and easier as you play it more and understand the system, which is good because there are definitely games where if you had to draft your whole hand and that was your game and that's what you worked with for the whole game, if you were a first-time player, that would not be fun at all. Well, but because you add those breaks in between, then you're going to get that learning feedback loop, right?
That's right. You get the regular resets in Citadels. Also, your decisions on turn 1 don't necessarily determine who's going to win in Citadels. The decisions are important in that game, but the early turns are more feeling out the group than they are actually putting you in a winning position. And so there's room for novice players to actually learn the system. I teach Citadels by just playing around with people, and then we just carry on from there. So that's a great example of an accessible drafting game.
It's a very easy game to teach as well for drafting.
Yeah.
Andrew Wolf says drafting, in my opinion, is also a more approachable hobby game mechanic because the concept of it is more widely known through sports. That's an interesting thought.
That's funny. I have found drafting to be one of the more difficult hobby game mechanics to explain to people that don't know what it is.
Well, maybe you're not playing with sportos.
I'm definitely not playing with people that are sports fans.
That's interesting. Hey, Andrew, if you want to pop on and explain why you think... Oh, there he is. He said, I meant in a broader sense for gaming as a more approachable game mechanic than say worker placement or area control. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, yes. I'm not so sure I agree with area control. Area control is super visual. It's like all you can do is control the most area and you get whatever. And I think that's, to me, easy.
And good UX in a worker placement game also makes worker placement super easy to teach, right? You think about Stone Age, that's such an easy game to teach to people the basics of, because it's like, well, you put your guy in the circle and then you do the thing that's beside the circle.
Yeah. And only one guy can go in that circle.
Only one guy can go in a circle. We're good. I don't have to use
the hut. Then you go to the hut.
And everybody goes to the hut.
Daryl's agreeing with Andrew that sports fans definitely understand drafting, and I get that. That's totally true. Yeah, I would say that is.
Yeah, because they play things like fantasy baseball,
which I finally got one of those things. So it's okay. What do people think about different styles of drafting? So, we've been talking about examples of some games that use drafting. Really, when Jesse and I looked at drafting in a couple of the games that we've designed, there are different styles of drafting, and we prefer, if possible, to snake the draft. So if you think about a snaking the draft, it'd be like first player, second player, third player, fourth player, then fourth player picks, then third player, then second player, then first player. If we're not just passing cards around, right? So if we're just drafting from a straight up set tableau of n times 2 plus 1 cards or something like that, that's how I like to do it. Are there other ways that you think are good, Jesse?
Other than snake drafting,
I think you like it as well.
Well, no, I mean I like snake drafting, but snake drafting only works when you don't have a lot of things to pick from. So if you have number of players times 2 plus 1 items, and your player count caps at 6, then there's at most 13 things on the table, and we can probably snake that. That wouldn't be too bad. But if it goes over that, then I wouldn't want to snake.
No, that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Which is part of the benefit of drafting, by the way.
Yeah. The part about drafting that's actually my favorite in play is closed hand drafting, because I like tables. I like games that let you make and read table signals. So Seven Wonders can be an example of this, right? So you get a hand of cards, and in the beginning of the round, you only know the cards that are in your hand. And if you're playing with a low player count, 4 players is my favorite way to play Seven Wonders. You'll see that hand again before the round is over. And so you can make your first choice based on what you think might come back to you. And you can look at the table space, and you can try and guess what other people are going to pick. And then when that hand comes back to you, depending on what's left in it, that can tell you something about what other players' strategies are. Now in Seven Wonders, we all reveal the card we pick, so it's not as much of a memory thing as it is in, say, a game of Magic, or if you're doing a pregame draft of Seasons. But I still really like that, like you get a hand of cards and you're like, oh man, there's nothing blue in here. I wonder if somebody else is pulling blue cards. Maybe I should stop pulling blue cards because I don't want to fight with someone for that.
Or
I think those moments
take the blue cards so they don't get them.
yeah, I already have some really awesome blue cards, so I should just like go all in on this. That's right. And yeah, and I think those moments are really cool. And so when possible, I like to try and create them in games, but it's very hard to do that without also making the game inaccessible.
Mm-hmm.
Like only people that really understand all the pieces of the system can get into that.
Right, which is when you mentioned seasons. Let's get a show of hands out there. I mean, we can add a poll later, but for those of you who have played seasons, how many of you have played seasons actually drafting the cards, actually the spell cards? Chances are not many of you. And part of the reasons why is because usually when you play seasons, you're not playing with the same people, or you're not playing with people who all know the game. You know, if you are a seasoned player, that was fun, then you'll know that drafting is actually the de facto way you're supposed to play that game. And you cannot do that in seasons without playing it first without drafting. You have to go with preset hands and decks, because it's not the core of the system. It's part of the system that drives the rest of it in some ways. But the game interacts with those cards in such weird and wonderful ways that if you don't understand the rest of it, you really don't know what to draft.
Yeah, you can't make those. You can't make those decisions well. David Tomei has got a question for us.
He does.
Is there a component or object that is less than ideal to use for drafting? Dice cards, tokens, they're common, but is there a limit to what can be drafted?
I mean, I guess you could draft pizza. They're just slices. I mean, why not?
Yeah, you can draft pizza. I mean, in a sense, that's kind of what you do when you're at a party and you order like 6 pizzas and you're just slow drafting the pizza over the course of the night. You take some pieces, you eat them, you come back and see what's left. You just
Andrew's asking how many people play Blood Rage with drafting? Oh, that's a good question. Is New York Slice a drafting game, Daryl?
I can't
remember. I
have this feeling it's an I cut you choose, but I could be wrong.
I think it is, which is sort of a semi-draft, right?
Yeah.
Same as Piece of Cake. Yes, then it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Brad is confirming what we said. You know, I've only ever played seasons with the draft, but usually I play it with the same person, and that makes total sense. And it is a very good 2-player game, by the way. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, so I Cut You Choose really is a sort of draft. Like Travis is saying, isn't New York Slice pizza drafting? Yes, it is. I was saying pizza like an actual physical pizza, Travis. But yes, New York Slice is I Cut You Choose, and yes, I Cut You Choose is a form of drafting. So yes, you can draft pizza, apparently.
And also, yes, that is a way to eat pizza.
Oh, it is. Okay, cool. What are some pros of drafting? What are some things that you think games benefit from having drafting in it?
All right. So one of the things that that I often see people point out is that one of the really nice things about drafting is it's self-balancing.
Yep.
And actually, one way to make drafts interesting is not to have all cards be equal value in your card set.
Yes,
right?
Of course not.
Right. So if every card in Sushi Go is worth a point when you pick
that would be a bad game.
It would be a terrible game, right? But cards are better or worse than each other in different contexts and different times.
Yeah, and collections of things, or not collections of things. Sorry. Well, yeah, in collections of things. That's what I meant to say.
Yep, that's right. Right. So like turn 1 Wasabi is a pretty good pick, and it gets less good as the game goes on. So, but also because of the way drafting works, you can get away with having overpowered cards in the game. So this is I've never played Blood Rage, but I know that there's been many arguments online about the power level of certain kinds of combos in the game. And so that Andrew had asked people if people played Blood Rage with draft. And one of the things that comes up in those is like, well, you have to just draft the cards so that people don't get those combos. It's on you guys to have fixed the problem during the selection process. If you let a player pick those things, it's not the designer's fault.
Oh, and so this is why I think some people think that auction games are lazy design, and they might also be the type of people who think that drafting games are lazy design because you leave it in the hands of the players to kind of decide what's powerful and not, or what things are worth. And that is part of the con of it. If we're going to go to cons, that sometimes it is hard to evaluate if they don't have. Because it's really just opportunity cost, right? It's like, what do you draft this turn? That's my opportunity to pick one of these 3 cards from this hand that I'm then going to pass over.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And if you don't realize that you're not just making the choice, what do I want, but also the choice, what don't others get to choose?
Yes.
Then you might think that drafting is imbalanced.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Randy has something interesting to say here. One sec. He says, I've heard that called lot drafting, one of the things we were talking about before, where you draft a collection of things, right? Which is like Colorado is like that, where it's not exactly split and choose. You're drafting a bunch of stuff. And there's a couple of games like that where it's like, there's going to be a collection of things, a collection of things, and a collection of things, and you pick which of those 3 things you're going to take for your stuffs.
Yeah.
Which would be a really good way to do like a fun RPG-ish type game where you just have random assortments of like magical items. You say, which of these magical item sets do you want? Or superpowers like that don't match.
Or just D20 rolls.
Well, no, that's not fun. But yes,
you draft a pile of D20 results.
Did I ever tell you that that's how I con GM sometimes? Not drafting, but I'll pre-roll. And I'll just mark them off on a piece of paper.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That's
it actually saves time. Jesse Fernandez, this is great. He's saying, I haven't designed a drafting game yet. This conversation is somewhat giving me some ideas, which is really nice to hear.
Yeah,
that's what this is about. The deep dive into a mechanic should hopefully help people think about it.
So what do you think? So what do you think is good about drafting? I answered the question. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like drafting because it does give a lot of agency to the player. It lets them kind of choose their path and choose their fate. And they, if you draft into something good, it is such a sweet feeling, right? Mm-hmm. And it also gives you that feeling, I can fix this, I can fix this, I can fix this on my next card, which is why, by the way, I do not like draft sets where it's equal to the number of times it's passed, where the last person just gets a card. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want to just get the card. I want at least one choice. Give me 2 cards at the end that I pick between, and I'm a happy camper. If you just give me one, that game, I'm flipping the table, man. So I can't even lift a table that small. But,
8 card hand and 7 wonders then?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. Randy is saying one pro is that drafting from a hand of cards can be done simultaneously, which is a pro. It is also a con. Oh, sorry, Randy. One of the reasons why I think it's a con sometimes, it depends on how the round structure goes. But we were just talking about this before we started as well, is that sometimes when you simultaneously draft, if you are a slow drafter, you kind of feel bad. You kind of feel pressured because everybody else who's fast drafting, because they can easily evaluate, 2 crap cards and a good card. I mean, I just passed my hand. I take that card and pass my hand, but you're sitting there with 3 decent cards and you're like, I don't know. You feel bad. You feel like you're under pressure to decide, and you might get a couple stacks stacked up in front of you if everybody else is not following, proper draft etiquette. Is there proper draft etiquette? Jess, what do you think?
Yes, you shouldn't pass your hand until everybody should pass the draft hands at the same time. So games like 7 Wonders and Sushi Go enforce it. Because there's a reveal, you pick, you put the hand down, and then once everybody's picked, we reveal a card. And so we're forced to keep it clean. But if the game doesn't have that kind of reveal steps, we're just going to be doing continuous drafting. You should definitely wait until the person next to you has finished their choice before you pass them more cards.
Very good. Andrew Wolf has a question. He says, is Potion Explosion a drafting game? Huh.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Everything's a drafting game now. Travis Magrum says he's a pro. That's covering my face. One sec. Pro. Friendly groups can choose to play in a friendly way, while aggressive groups can hate draft things that others want. This is totally true. Con, mixing those players within a group is generally more beneficial to one of those play styles depending on that game. That is also true.
Yeah.
So Travis is really talking about, play style and how our play style or the game's demanded play style meshes with the table's play style. And drafting, you can go in two ways, right? You can draft stuff for yourself that you really want, but if there's nothing in there that you want, you might just take something that somebody else wants, which is good, right? Which is strategic, but it's also kind of spiteful or hate drafting.
Right.
And that's interesting. Yeah.
Or if you see something that you kind of want and you think nobody else wants and something someone really wants, you can take the thing that someone really wants and hope that thing that you kind of want comes back around. Yeah.
And that's what I like about some games where you get to see the hand that's getting drafted a few times.
Yeah.
Because you can build those strategies or you can hope on those strategies and those make for really good moments, like you were saying. Like, oh, yes, I came around. You're like, oh, yes. Like Napoleon Dynamite. Yes.
You feel clever, right? Because you're like, you
did absolutely nothing, but you totally do feel clever.
You feel clever because you took this risk. You think it was a risk. It turns out nobody at the table even cared about that card. But hey, you were like, I really hope I see it again.
Yeah, I love that feeling. It's a wonderful feeling.
It feels great.
Which is why 7 Wonders at certain player counts works better for me personally.
Yeah.
In lots of ways. But yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I like it at 4 because you'll see that. Yeah. You'll see every hand twice.
Yeah. Dave Tomei says, a con, knowledge is king in my experience. Or in my opinion, sorry, and probably his experience. He's plays a lot of games. If you are inexperienced in what all the cards do, you have a huge battle to overcome. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That is definitely a thing. That's also a problem in auction games. And so, how can we do that better, other than just the valuation of the cards and put like this is worth about 3 to 4 points, and this is worth 12 to 8 points. I mean,
well,
that doesn't help.
It doesn't, because this is about sensitivity to combinations, right?
That too.
Right.
Because individual cards does not a game make, right? It's the combinations of them.
No, that's right. So I think, it's tough to say. Games like Sushi Go get around this problem because all the combinatorics are there for you. Cards only pair with specific things.
Yeah.
And you don't have these like complicated cross combos.
I mean, 7 Wonders has the building chain right on it. So maybe just providing more information. I know it doesn't always help.
It doesn't always help because you don't know what those subsequent buildings do.
Or if you're even going to get them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And so it's tough. I'm not really sure what to do about that. I mean, this is actually a problem. So I mentioned before Millennium Blades Pocket Pro Tour, which is a cute little game that I made that no one will ever be able to find. You have to buy an expansion for Millennium Blades to get it. But anyway, it's a 21 card drafting game. So it's a micro game. There's only 21 cards in the game, and you draft them. And this game has, even in 21 cards, it's a super simple system. It has the exact problem that David is referring to. I will beat anybody at that game who has not played it at least twice. Because I know all 21 cards. I know all of the ways they interact with each other. And because I have all of that in my head, every decision I make is with full knowledge of all of the combo potential that I'm opening and closing for myself.
I'm still trying to think if that's a correct statement because I'm pretty sure I beat you at that game.
I don't know if you beat me. I'm the final.
I don't remember, Jesse. I'm kidding.
It's not a big deal. The point is, even in a micro drafting game, knowing the card set at like a higher level than just the content of them puts you at a completely different tier than.
And yes, I would say that in a smaller set, it actually is even more dangerous because you know all the cards.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about Mutants, which is another game that Jesse and I made that does have drafting in it, or can have drafting in it. And that is a bit more wild and fancy-free in terms of when you're drafting. If you know what you're drafting, you will definitely do better. But sometimes even when you know, the combinations that come out of that game are fairly ridiculous. So it's just interesting to see those things. I'm still fascinated by what combinations are possible in the game. It's pretty funny.
Oh, and Mutants?
Yeah.
I think I'm
but
as
you're still
excited
drafting.
as backers to get that game.
Yeah, right? Hey, Funkadzer came by.
Hey, Derek. How's it going?
Derek, Funkadzer came
Shouldn't
by.
he
This
be
is
packing boxes?
Yeah, this is a rare. Oh, that's why he's here and not on his own stream, because he's not packing boxes.
That's right. This is the first time, Derek, you have ever made it, even just to say hi. It's such a moment.
It's a moment. Let's have a moment. Okay, cool. Hey, Derek, what's your favorite drafting game? We'll find out later. Let's see here. Oh, Justin is saying proper drafting etiquette is definitely to wait to pass till everyone is ready. Also, I recommend verifying. We are looking at X cards now, right? So like your hand is 3 cards or 4 cards, right? So you should verify that as well. That's a great policy. You just have to try to enforce it or model it. Even better, just model it for people and they'll continue to do it. Good stuff.
I think, so do you, there's an academic question. Do you think that like moment in some trick-taking games like Spades and Hearts where you choose a subset of your cards and pass them to another player is a kind of drafting?
That is almost like what David was asking. It's almost like a push draft where you're passing cards to your partners.
Or your opponents.
Or your opponents, right? So like Tishu.
I haven't played Tishu, so I didn't know if it had that.
Well, you should play it because it's awesome.
I know. I really want to.
You need
keep trying.
3 other people and a deck. It is, yeah. And so just to paint the picture, what happens in Tishu is you're going to pass cards to your left, your right, and your opponent. Your partner, who sits across from you. 1 card to your left, 1 card to your right, 1 card to your opponent. So you really do hate draft from your own set of cards. You say, okay, there's no way, because I have a pair of 3s here, I won't be giving anybody a 4 of a kind if I take those 2 3s and give them to my opponents on my left and my right. And then you usually take your best card, like the dragon or the phoenix, and you hand that to your partner. Why? Because it communicates to them that that's where that super awesome card is. It's now in your hand, and I used to have it, and I gave it to you, meaning that, and I usually give them my best card. So if I give them an ace, they're like, oh, he doesn't have the dragon or the phoenix. So there's a lot of communication in the draft, which is actually my favorite part of that game. The rest of that game is just a climbing game, which kind of plays itself in a lot of ways. There are some decisions to make for sure, definitely, and it's super fun to do it. But you know, it is also something that, like most trick-taking games or climbing games, which are obviously related, there's going to be some elements of it just plays itself, which is often some of the commentary that we get about things. Oh, somebody has a message. Somebody has a message. That's me. Where'd it go? Oh, hey. Cool. Yes, you can.
Someone coming in?
Yeah. Justin is coming in. Justin, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. Blasky, who Mint Tin stuff.
Cool.
And he loves drafting games. Millennium Blades. Oh, here we go. Millennium Blades is Justin's favorite game of all time. And so he loves drafting, and he wants to come on and chat, which would be really cool.
Maybe he can play Pro Tour. I can finally meet a human being that has.
Right. Randy Hoyt is saying Zany Penguins is a fun one with that mechanisms where you draft cards to give your opponents each round. Okay, great. Zany Penguins, David, we have to find that and play it at the gathering. For those of you who are going to be at the gathering, come find us and we'll play Zany Penguins with you. If we can find it. I don't know if anybody's bringing Zany Penguins. But yeah, that's it. So
either the game or actual penguins.
Well, I'm both. It is Buffalo, so it's close to Canada, so we might have penguins. We don't have penguins. There are no penguins there. Cool. So drafting, so pros and cons. So when we're designing a drafting game, what are some things? You know what? And you're right, Randy. I know BGG does not include drafting as a mechanism for Tishu, Hearts, or Zany Penguins. I get that. But I think it still is. I think you're still drafting a choice. You're making a choice from your cards to give away. You're just drafting into other people's hands. And maybe the definition of drafting is taking it into your own hand and picking it for yourself.
Or maybe that's how BGG defines it.
Yeah, but I would say, it's not bad to the other way. All right, everyone, we are inviting Justin into the feed. He'll be here in 3, 2, 1. There he is. Hello. Oh, Justin, I don't think we can hear you yet. Can you hear us? Okay, we've got some audio issues. So while Justin fixes that, we're going to say, bye, Millennium Blades again. Haha. Actually, which expansion is it in, Jesse?
The first one.
What's it called? Do you remember?
No.
No. Way to go, Jess. Can't even market your own product.
No.
What kind of salesman are you?
That one.
Yeah, that's okay. So we're going to talk with Justin about drafting when he gets his audio fixed. Yeah, just keep on talking, Justin, and when we hear you, we can hear you.
Yeah.
If there's a way for you, even if you pop out, Justin, I think there's a way to actually check which microphone you're using with the like little cog wheel thing. That might help you. Or if there's something going on with the rest of your computer. But if you need to pop out and pop back in, that's totally cool. So when we're designing a game with drafting, Jess, what's our goal? What are we going to do?
If we're designing a drafting game?
Yeah. What do we have to think about?
I mean, I guess for me, if I'm thinking, it's what like emotions and moments does the mechanic create, and that's how you figure out if the mechanic's appropriate for the game you're trying to make, right?
Okay, so let's assume it is. Let's assume drafting gives us the dynamic and the experience that we're looking for.
Right. So we've got so in that case, since I think that we try very hard to make games accessible, we'd make sure that whatever it is we're drafting is valuable to players no matter their skill level, at least to some degree. So it must be possible for players to quickly look at a hand of whatever or the options available to them and rank them. So
can you hear me?
Hey, we can.
There we go.
Okay, so we're just talking about ranking, making cards in a drafting game would be very good for us to have. We're going to put you in the big window.
Oh boy.
Good for us to have stuff that was easily accessible, I think is what Jesse is saying. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. But Justin, introduce yourself to everybody here at Meeple Syrup.
Hello, I'm Justin Blaski, a fellow game designer. Big fan of drafting games. It's probably one of my favorite game mechanics in general.
Have you made a drafting game?
Maybe I happen to have made a drafting game. We may have one on Kickstarter right now, actually.
Yeah, tell us about it.
At Area 1851 Express, it's a straight up drafting game where you're building weird, crazy gadgets, making goofy contraptions of mixed technologies from various aliens and human technology. It's a nice, lighthearted, but has enough strategy in it to keep you thinking. Like think of a Sushi Go with teeth.
Sushi Go with teeth. I like that. That's a great description. So tell us what you like about drafting, Justin. What's your favorite thing about it?
A lot of people don't think it's interactive, but I love the way it is interactive with it, because you get to try to discover what everybody else is doing. Like in Magic, you have no idea what anybody else is doing unless you're paying attention to the cards that are disappearing. Or in some games where you can actually see what they're, like in Seven Wonders, you can see what people are putting out and just trying to figure out what their plan is as you're going, and then, having the opportunity to try to stop somebody, or be like, well, I'm not going to take that. I'll let someone else try to stop them because I really need this card. And I just like the way that interaction actually works out.
Cool. What do you think are the biggest cons for drafting? What are some negatives?
I think probably the worst problem is losing track of hands. Like almost every other game that I've played at drafting, it's at one point in time someone's looking at 6 cards and everybody else is looking at 5, and everybody seems to have a hand of cards because someone passed their drafted cards or something weird. And so like people not following a decent protocol to keep track of what hands are where. That's probably the biggest con I've seen.
Excellent. And so when you're designing for the draft, or when you're designing a drafting game, Justin, what do you keep in mind? What is at the top of your head?
why are you drafting it? Like, what's the end game? So like with 1851, I wanted the drafting to actually be the playing of the game, kind of like Seven Wonders or Sushi Go would be.
Right.
So that when you're done drafting, you're done playing, and as you're drafting, you're even cleaning up after yourself with 1851. So
That's cool.
You're not building up a huge gigantic tableau. It cleans up as you keep going, and so really, like, what's the end game going to be with the draft is definitely a thought process in there. And then you guys touched on earlier with the accessibility to looking at the cards. You're always going to be at a disadvantage if you don't know the cards and know everything about the cards, or at least a good chunk of everything. And so,
right. Excellent.
I think some of the. Oh, go ahead.
No, you keep going. I'm just doing something here.
One of the something I tried to do was provide as much of that information up front, so that everybody can be on the same playing field, in terms of general information, knowing if I take this, there's a chance this will happen and whatnot.
Oh, nice. And how did you do that in the game? Is it like player aids or?
Yeah, we have a little player aid that has all the icons listed out, and then the base point structure is very normalized, so that there's nothing real crazy going on.
So we've just been told that you're designing a solo mode for drafting. Can you tell us about?
Yes,
somebody
has the inside track. I'm not sure how she knows this information, but she's got the inside track.
Yeah, we got an insider. We have a spy.
She's spying.
Can you tell us a bit about how you're trying to make that work, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. So
that's fascinating.
I never have really been a big solo gamer, but I kind of got pulled into that part of the hobby through the Mint games, and with that, some of those people have come along into our new campaign and are asking, "Hey, we like to play solo. What can you do about that?" Which I was very skeptical initially, thinking, how on earth can I make a drafting game soloable and also interesting? But I kind of took some cues from the way Seven Wonders Duel does it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also leaned on how I've done AIs in the past, making them have a very strict set of rules on their decision-making process so that the player doesn't have to do any choices. And then each AI can have a few different knobs turned to change how they would choose things. And so we're still going through testing on it, but it's very promising right now.
That's so interesting. I guess, because drafting could totally be something that would be soloable, really, when you think about it. I mean, why couldn't it be soloable? Totally,
right. It's not a thing you think of, really, because it's such a group. It's a group experience.
Mm-hmm. And so this campaign is on Kickstarter right now. And by the way, we didn't plan this at all, so thank you for coming on. This is great.
Yeah, no problem.
Area 1851 Express is a 2 to 5 player. Well, now maybe 1 to 5 player.
Soon to be 1 to 5 player. Yes.
Right, drafting game and set collection card game that plays in about 30 to 45 minutes. Currently, there are just under 397 backers. So if anybody out there wants to become the 400th backer, I'm sure Justin would be super happy.
I would definitely be happy.
Yeah, they are over halfway to funding with 15 days to go. And this is is this a little bigger than what you normally make in terms of size of game?
Yeah, box size, it's probably close to like, I've got one of our printed out boxes here. So it's roughly the size of like a Resistance box or something like that. So
okay,
about that size.
Okay, that is definitely a different size. That's not different size, but different.
We're calling it our big box game.
Oh, that's pretty funny because then you think of like Queen big boxes and stuff like that.
Right.
You think like ginormous boxes from Heck, right? So very cool. If you were to play a game, would it be Millennium Blades? Is that like your number one game?
If the time is there. If the time is there, definitely.
Good point.
Do you have the first expansion?
Yes.
Have you seen my game?
It's the
little red and blue box?
The red, yeah. I've played it once or twice, not too many times yet.
Digital high five.
Sweet.
Jesse is like Jesse doesn't know any human other than me who played that game, and I played it only because I was like next to him.
I liked it. I want to play it more actually. It just with the other designer that's part of 524 Labs, he also is big in Millennium Blades, and so we both own like all of it, and we'll play whenever we can. But typically we just get a couple people together and play full on game, and I don't just carry the little one with me. But I probably should, so I can actually play one.
It only plays in 5 minutes, and if you like drafting games, that's what it is.
Right.
So. You should totally just do that. Here's a question. Dave Tomei asks, and Justin, maybe you can field this question. What do you think about games like Dominion, where you are buying cards? Is that really card drafting? I ask because I have seen people debate the aspects of drafting and deck building before. So I wondered about your thoughts of the two as they relate to each other. What do you think, Justin? Is deck building drafting?
I don't think deck building is drafting by any means. I think a lot of deck building games use a form of drafting to build the deck. Like I would say Ascension or
Star Realms,
or Legendary, or Legendary. Like those games that have a fixed set, and when it's taken, it's gone. Even a Crossfire and a Dragonfire, like those games, you've got that market where once you take it, it's gone. Games like Dominion, I wouldn't think of as drafting because there's a supply, and everybody has equal opportunity to those cards. Once you buy one, there's still 10 more of them depending on player count.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say some are and some aren't.
So we're saying that some deck building games use drafting to build the deck.
Yeah.
Okay, and some of them with that have more of an open market are less drafting.
Yeah, that's how I would lean.
It'd be like saying, every game's a worker placement game, right?
Right.
and people have devolved into these arguments where it's like, oh no, it's a worker placement game. It's like, well, wait a minute, worker placement usually means that other people are excluded from going to that worker spot, but this game, everybody can go there. So it's not worker placement. So a lot of it may be just a little bit of semantics. A lot of it may be just people's experience. But I think you're kind of right in this one. I would kind of draw the line at Dominion, but might allow some of the other ones that have more of a market, or not a market, but a river style or hand style of drafting.
And if we're going to argue semantics, we did start this stream off by coming up with a definition, and the definition, and you pushed me to include a limited set from which they are making their choices.
I did, because I don't believe an open set is drafting.
And Dominion is essentially open set, right? Because there's no scarcity.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
In the context of a given game, just because there exists 600,000 other cards you could have been playing with.
No, that's not.
They're not an option.
Even a factor. Don't even think about that.
They're not an option in the context of this game, so that's not drafting.
No, but that's a great question, Dave. Thank you. If anybody has other questions for us or Justin, please do go to Kickstarter, check out Area 1851 Express, which has nothing to do with trains, does it? Can you build a train in it?
There is a steam engine as an option,
okay. Well,
but there's no full-on trains.
That's pretty close to something. With Express, I think of trains as well. So I know what you mean it as, like fast and small and portable. I'm thinking trains, but anyways.
Right. No, 18XX was a thing we definitely had to get past for a while. People were like, "This isn't an 18XX game."
Wow. Oh, right.
Yes.
Right. No, it is not. although, I mean, an 18XX game with aliens would be kind of fun. That's your next thing. That's your next game. Cool.
I'll really confuse people then.
Right. If there is so I mean, train games. Speaking of train games, I think one of you already mentioned it, that a lot of people would say, oh yeah, in buying from the layout picking which train cards you're getting in Ticket to Ride, is that drafting? Are you drafting a card from that set?
That's a lot closer to the line,
right? If you're drafting a card from that set, then is it the same? Isn't buying from the river in Star Realms or Hero Realms or Cthulhu Realms?
I think it strictly would be drafting because of that. You've got your limited set each turn, and so
same as
Yeah, and I think there's I don't think any of those games have drafting in their BGG entries, right? Because they're not primarily drafting game. They're a game in which you might draft.
Pretty sure I got the Ticket to Ride thing from the BGG drafting description.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
I don't know if it's on the entry, but it's at least in the like BGG description discussion.
Cool. Oh, here's another pro that we missed. Brad Batchelor says, pro of drafting lets you process a lot of information, a lot of cards, for instance, in smaller chunks. Yeah, and I think that's definitely true. The cognitive load is not the same as getting like a hand of, or all the cards, right? Or picking from all the possible cards.
Which is precisely why I said I wouldn't do a snake draft if it was over 13 cards or 13 items.
Yeah, I mean, I even think, in Seven Wonders, the hand is a little on the big side, but 7 isn't too bad. Well, 7 is, well, it depends, right? So 7, the hand size, I know, but the hand size isn't that bad because the cards aren't that dense. And with Magic drafting, that is almost never the way a new person learns how to play Magic, right? They learn how to play Magic and then they evolve into cube drafting once they get, once they start realizing like, oh my God, I can't afford to play this game anymore. That's usually when you get into cube. Right? So that's interesting, and it's nice to see other people who like Millennium Blades. Rachel asked me to ask you, Justin, about your Keyforge cube.
Yeah. So I really like Keyforge. I thought it was a really cool twist on card combat games with where killing each other wasn't actually the goal. And it took a while for me to figure that out, by the way. Right, it's so different. But I really liked it. I really got into it. Ended up buying quite a few decks, and then realized I have a lot of extra cards here. I wonder how draftable this game could actually be. So I ended up making a little tool that would generate a cube based on the decks I have, and
like programming it.
Yeah.
Are you a programmer by trade?
I am.
Okay, that explains it, because it's like, that's not something that a normal human could just.
Right.
It's not. I
just decided
I'm just gonna program this thing.
Program something.
It's some machine learning. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. Okay.
But yeah, so it would generate a cube, and then we actually drafted it, and with a pretty minor modification to the rules, basically saying no given house can take more than 33% of your deck. Like that's the end of the rule.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So the restriction is just a 1/3 restriction.
Right. Yeah. So you can go as many or as few cards as you want, so long as 1/3 of your deck is the most any given house takes.
Oh, so you don't actually have a set deck size?
No, I mean recommended deck size. Try to get to 36, but whatever. And we had a few people that were playing. I think everybody played around 36 anyway. A couple of people were had running 4 houses actually.
Oh wow!
It was really interesting. It worked out pretty well actually. I was surprised.
That is interesting. I think I would much rather play Keyforge that way than the way Keyforge is actually played.
Because so often you're like, I wish I just had this one card I know exists. I wish I had it right now.
And to me, that is the main problem with Keyforge. For me personally, I'm a tinkerer. I sit all day and think about how to make a better Magic deck even better. That was my entire youth was spent like that. And so Keyforge does not scratch that itch at all. Keyforge actually offends me, viscerally offended that I can't fix this mistake. And Jesse knows because he's seen my decks. I only have 2 decks. Yeah. And one of them
has above curve.
Yeah, and then I have the one that I played first, which has 2 cards that don't work with any other cards in the deck. One that doesn't work, and the other one
that doesn't work, and the other one is anti-synergistic with your entire deck.
Yeah, it kills the creatures that are in my deck. Right, it kills all scientists. Well, I have 4 of those. Right, and the other one is that one card that did get through. I think in the
sacrifice altar.
Yeah, the one where you sacrifice, and it's like, well, it gets me nothing. It doesn't actually get me anything. I can't use the thing you get when you sacrifice because I don't have that house. Whatever. Anyway, so
I like that other deck you have. It was great.
Yeah, shut up, Jess.
I have in one of my decks. I've got a Maverick card. I think it's Phase Shift, which is basically play a non Logos card, and Logos is a house in the deck already, and so effectively it's you may play one card from the third house in this deck. Good
right.
luck. It's
right. Good luck
terribly-
having that right now.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, well, that kind of missed.
So is your Keyforge Cube URL public?
Yeah. Let me see.
Yeah, let's share that. I can type it out in the title here. So go ahead. Tell me what it is.
I'll post it right there.
It's going to get posted into the
Our
comments?
internal chat.
Our internal chat.
I put
even
on the
better.
internal chat there.
Thank you.
And then if anyone wants to see cubes that have been generated already, there's a cube listing menu right up top. Otherwise,
Oh, cool. That is
There you go.
super neat. There should not be a period after that. Sorry. That was me typing and then erasing at the same time. So I'm going to hide that and I'll bring it right back. Bring it right back with the right one. There we go. Boom.
There you go.
kfcube.flasky.net, which is very personalized and obviously makes sense. It's a Keyforge cube. So Rachel would like to know if you can take out the garbage when you're done the live stream.
I guess
That
so.
is
I
Also what
suppose.
you'd like you to do. She supposes so, Rachel. Okay, excellent. It's about that time that we go. So we talked a lot about drafting. And if people out there are interested in looking at drafting games, definitely check out again Area 1851 Express on Kickstarter now from Justin and team at 524 Labs. If you have Millennium Blades and you have the first expansion, you should find the little game that's in a little box, and it's like 21 little cute cards, and you should play it because Jesse made it, and then challenge Jesse to a game whenever you see him. I'm not sure where he's going to be next. He might be at KublaCon, but if you can find him and challenge him to that game, he will love you forever because, like I said, he's never met another human physically in the real world, which is why I had to do virtual high fives with Justin that has ever played this game.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because they just didn't even know it was in the box.
There's a lot in those boxes.
Those boxes are ram jam full of stuff. And it was funny when Millennium Blades first came out, people were saying, well, what are these 21 extra little cards? Do they actually fit in the game? Because they're not at all, in the mode of Millennium Blades. So it's really funny.
Hilarious. I love it. It's just a little box. You open it up. You're like, what is this?
What set is this for?
Yeah. And for those of you who want to do Keyforge as a cube, Justin has graciously sent his link, and it's on the stream right now, for making a cube with your bad decks.
Yes. And if any of our viewers are really keen on drafting and I think would like to hear send draft Game of Thrones deaths, is that correct?
Oh,
Are you
yeah. I don't
participating?
know if we're doing it live. Oh no, I'm the MC.
You're emceeing.
But John and so these are our friends, John and Nate. John Kahn, game designer, he did Grindhouse. He's doing some other ones that I don't know if I can mention. And Nate Murray from IDW, and I think maybe a couple other people. They're going to be doing the drafting, and I'll be most likely the host. And I just get to ask them pointed questions like, why would you think that Podrick was a good choice, right? Or something like that. So we're looking at drafting.
Why don't you think all the Game of Thrones characters are going to die to climate change?
Right? That's exactly what it is. Winter is coming, my friends. So yeah, the new season's out. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about that a bit more as we get closer to that. So anyways, it is 10:04, which is exactly the time when we should probably say goodbye. Thank you everyone for watching. Justin, thanks so much for joining us. Justin, hey, you know what? Since you're here, we usually ask guest designers to give us one piece of advice that they would like other new designers to know that you didn't know when you started this out. And maybe if you could think about how to relate that to drafting, that would be awesome. If you can't, that's fine too. But if you can, that would be like extra bonus. We would give you an extra point, extra victory point.
You need a dedicated team of playtesters, and you need to treat them very well.
That's every game, and that's awesome.
For
and it's
everything.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely. Do you find, just as a follow-up question to that one quickly, do you find that if you have a dedicated team of playtesters that are playing a drafting game, that they get better at drafting as they learn the cards? Is that true?
They do, just because some of those patterns get built in, I think.
Okay. And is that a good thing or a bad thing in playtesting? What do you think?
I think it's a little of both. It depends on what you're what your goal is at any given point in time.
Excellent answer. I like that answer. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, you dodged a bullet on that one. No, that was good. So we'll see you guys next week. Jesse, what are we doing next week? I can't even remember.
We are still figuring out what we're doing next week, but we'll have a spotlight.
Really?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it'll be a new designer spotlight. So we'll get a new designer spotlight.
We have
next
some.
Week.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Out, we'll let you know. Do we know the week after that?
No.
What?
Both of these things are in there.
I thought Erica had figured everything out.
No, we know 3
You
weeks.
abandoned us today, Erica.
We have 3 weeks from now settled.
Okay. Okay. What's that going to be, Jesse? Just to for edification.
I think we're going to be talking about media. We're going to be talking about board game media.
Excellent. So we might have a guest from the board game media side, and we'll let you know who that is when we find out, because I think Erica knows. Erica knows all. She's smart. All right, cool. So we'll see you guys later. Remember, go to Kickstarter area, 1851 Express from Justin. Justin, it was super nice to talk to you. We'll talk to you. I'm sure we'll see you more. Excellent. Talk to you soon, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Meeple Syrup Show. If you'd like to support us on all of our projects, please check out our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/MeepleSyrup. Hope to see you next week.